Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, I'm John and I'm back with another video on my channel, Musings of a Marine. Hope everybody's doing well. I just had surgery on my left knee for a torn meniscus, so I'm at home instead of work today. And that's a good thing because it's raining out. And Friday is the one day on my job that I work outside the most. So that worked out good and I'm recovering well. Just kind of swollen, but I can walk around. No problem whatsoever. So anyways, that's not what my video is about today. Though obviously I wanted to get my knees taken care of so the next time I go to the Philippines or any other vacation for that matter, I can get around much easier and not have to worry about knee pain. But what I really wanted to talk to everybody about today, and this is going to be probably my most serious video I've ever done. Try and stay away from really serious issues in politics, but there's something very, very important to me, and that's the subject of immigration into the United States and what's going on here. I don't know what most Filipinos think of my newly inaugurated president. I don't agree with everything that he does, but I'll tell you one thing I do highly support him in, and his decisions is removing illegal immigrants from the United States, especially the criminal ones that have been convicted of murder, rape, child trafficking, things like that. They have no business being in this country. They should be in prison, period, in their own country. Okay. I don't think Filipinos really get true information about President Trump. They don't have any real more conservative type of news agencies in the Philippines. You get CNN, which sometimes is so off base with their reporting that the term fake news literally originates from that news network. And then you have the BBC, which definitely is a liberal news agency that probably doesn't shine President Trump in a very positive light either. Okay. But I voted for him, and the biggest issue was because of illegal immigration. Our previous president and his administration was just letting people pour into our country like crazy. They were actually flying people from other countries into the United States of America. Now, many people will probably ask, well, why is that happening? Well, because as we saw in the election, which Trump won in a landslide, so many people were fed up with the way things have gone in the Democratic Party here in the U.S. and it's moved so far left that they just didn't want to vote for him anymore. More Hispanics, more African American people voted Republican than they have in God knows how long. And that's the reason why. We want a strong economy, but we also want strong borders, because Americans have literally been murdered by illegal people coming into this country, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse. And because so many people were let into this country, wrongfully so, it just compounded the problem. So now that Trump's in office and he's taken charge, there are so many people getting deported out of this country now that it is unbelievable. And I'm so happy to see it. Not only for the safety of everyone here, but for the fairness of it all as well. You see, one thing that you'll probably never hear from the BBC or CNN is how Trump being the president of the United States actually is going to be a benefit to the Philippines. And there's two reasons. The immigration factor, some could think, well, that's negative. They didn't want Trump to win. So this way it'd be easier to get into the country. Well, quite frankly, to legally immigrate in the United States is very difficult, And the previous administration made it even more so because they allowed so many illegals in here. The people who have the skills that we need here in the United States that could bring something to the table in my country, it's just going to take them longer to go through the process to get here. My wife Diana's green card, which expired in July, normally we would get that within a matter of months. They had to send us a 2-year letter, extension letter, so she could be legal here, because there's such a backlog in immigration right now. And why? Because of all the illegals that have poured into this country. And we need to get rid of them. And he's starting with the bad ones first. Get the criminals out of here. Get the murderers, the rapists, child traffickers. Get them out of here. They don't belong here. They shouldn't have been here in the first place. And we have too many judges that are just too lax on their punishment and allowing them back out on the streets. They need to leave, and they are leaving. That's the good news. But we have a shortage of certain professions in the United States. We need more doctors and nurses and engineers, and we can get them from a lot of different countries, and the Philippines is definitely one of them, particularly in the doctor and nurses fields. And it's very hard. But the more of the illegals we can get out of here, the more we can bring in people in those professions. You know, speaking from personal experience, I know how good Filipinos and Filipinos make as nurses and doctors. They just have a good bedside manner to them, and I'm always glad if I'm in the hospital that I have a Filipino nurse taking care of me. So we need people like that here. We need immigrants here in the United States. People are having less and less children here now, and we need these positions filled. And the younger crowd here in the United States, so many of them just don't have a lot of ambition. Their parents did well, and they just want to keep living with them and sponging off of their income. You know, it's not good. And where I work, we have a lot of people that are well past retirement age still working at least part-time because they want to work and the company needs them. They need them to fill the positions because the younger crowd doesn't seem to want to do it. So that's what's really going on here in the United States. All right. So I'm glad the border is getting secure. We need to build a wall, and we need to keep the illegals out of here. Most of them, they claim to be asylum seekers. Most of them don't need to claim asylum from anything. A lot of them are overweight. It's not like they're starving or anything. Let's be honest about that. And a lot of them are coming from countries where they're not, really needing to claim asylum. From Venezuela and all these criminals, they opened up their prisons and told their people to come into this country. We don't want these people here. We want good, hardworking immigrants from across the globe that contribute to society. And we want them here and we need them here. But it's got to be done the right way. My wife Diana and I have spent thousands of dollars, spent many hours in immigration facilities, filled out a lot of paperwork to keep her here legally. And for anyone to expect me and her to accept anybody coming in here illegally and getting the free food and housing and Social Security benefits, and oh yeah, they're getting it, that is a slap in the face beyond belief. And I cannot believe it actually happened. Even President Obama was known as the deportation king. He shipped a lot of people out of this country. The so-called cages that illegal immigrants were being kept in, Obama's administration built those, not Trump's. Okay? So, even President Obama, being, much more to the left, understood that we just can't have all these illegals pouring in here. But the reason that they wanted them in here is so they could give them voter ID cards and they would vote. And naturally, they would vote Democrat because that's the party that gave them all the free stuff and let them in here in the first place. That is the real reason why that happened. And if anybody thinks otherwise, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm sorry. This is just a subject that I've studied thoroughly and for good reason because of how it's affected me and my wife. And it's disgusting. And I'm so thankful that we have a president now who is turning the tables on this big time. There's another reason why Filipinos should be happy that President Trump is now the president of the United States. And that's because of China. Who's the Philippines' biggest threat right now as far as other countries go? It's China. They're coming into Philippine waters and into the Philippines fishing waters. They're making man-made islands out there, harassing Filipino fishing boats. People just out there trying to make a living in the waters that they have the right to fish in, and the Chinese want to take it away from them. Japan's definitely on our side in this. And even though we don't have Clark Air Force Base anymore, or the big naval base in Subic Bay, it doesn't mean we don't have a good military presence in the Philippines right now. The United States definitely does, and this is no big secret. And why? It's because of China and protecting Taiwan. The majority of the semiconductors that we get here in the U.S. and pretty much throughout the world are made in Taiwan. And for whatever reason, China will they just refuse to accept Taiwan as an independent country. And really, I guess it's not surprising. Communist countries just like to strong arm everybody when they can anyways. And it's a terrible form of government. And they're doing this because they realize Taiwan has a lot of assets. So naturally, they don't want to recognize them as a free, independent country. They think they belong to China, but they don't. Not at all. And so we have to protect them, and the Philippines is a great place to have military presence so we can do that. So Filipinos should be happy in that regard that we have a military presence and a president who actually cares about keeping China at bay, because you sure as heck couldn't trust the Biden administration. He had President Biden's son Hunter over there doing business with the Chinese, and the big guy, Joe himself, getting 10% of the cut. Okay, this has happened. And don't let these news agencies tell you otherwise, because there's all kinds of factual information you can find to prove it. Okay? That needed to stop. Who would you trust to protect your country from the Chinese? Someone who's been compromised because of his son's business dealings? And it isn't just Joe Biden. Even Senator Mitch McConnell out of Kentucky is another one. His wife is Connie Chung, and they have, her family is business people over in China. Keep that in mind. It's not just Democrats. There's Republicans that are doing some dirty dealing over there as well. So I want people to understand that and realize that President Trump being in office is protecting much better the sovereignty of the Philippines, much better than Kamala Harris or any Democrat would. He's not afraid to stand up to China. He's not afraid to stand up to anybody, not even our allies, because everything has to be done fair and square. The thing I admire about my president is he's a pragmatist, as am I. You look at a situation, you look, if it doesn't make any sense, if it's not good for the country, or if it's not good for you, you should change it. I've changed my life a lot in the last couple of years for that reason, that, hey, I need to do certain things, and I'm going to do them for my benefit, okay? And you have to realize that anything the United States does has to be for their own benefit, but it is benefiting the Philippines. It's benefiting them in protecting their sovereignty. It's benefiting them in, by getting all the illegals out of this country, we can bring in more people legally from the Philippines and other countries to fill the jobs that we desperately need filled here. I don't mind foreign people being in this country at all, especially Filipinos. Obviously, I'm biased, but nonetheless, you come to this country, you work hard, you pay your taxes, you fill a much needed role. We are happy to have you, okay? And President Trump understands that. He's married to an immigrant, for heaven's sake. People say he doesn't like immigrants, that, you know, xenophobic. Oh, please, he's married to an immigrant, as I am. Okay? That's a bunch of nonsense. You know, so, oh, he's a rapist. No, he was never convicted of being a rapist. That's completely false. Doesn't like women. Again, completely false. He's putting women in his cabinet left and right, and the last two press secretaries for him are women. I mean, you know, let's cut the nonsense here, okay? We had needed big changes here in our country, and we're getting them, and it is going to benefit the Philippines and other countries too, because strong allied democratic nations are the ones that can stand up to the Chinas and the Russias and the Irans of the world that want to cause all these problems, the ones who can stomp out the terrorism, that can help train the troops and serve with them in the Philippines to stomp out the Islamic terrorism that's taking place in the Philippines and around the world. So I just wanted to talk about this subject today. You don't have to agree with everything that I say. I don't agree with everything that Trump does or says. Sometimes he says some pretty crazy things, you know. But what I do know is that we have a serious immigration problem in this country, and we have a serious military recruitment problem in this country. And by solving those problems, which are already getting solved, recruitment in our military is already up since Trump became president, these problems that are getting solved will benefit the Philippines as well. And I just wanted to make that very clear. So the next time you hear any Filipinos say, oh, I wish Harris would have won the election, you know, because maybe I could get over to the United States easier. Well, only in an illegal way. Otherwise, no, it wouldn't help you one iota, and in fact, it makes it harder to get over here. So now you know the truth, and I hope you accept it. And I'm glad that the changes are being made. So that's all I had to say today. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate the likes of my videos, the views that I'm getting, and added subscriptions that I may have gotten. But I really needed to talk about this today. And I thank you. God bless you. Semper Fi.